To begin with, I will be providing you an overview through some examples telling us the interface of creativity and AI, about what was the reason that we at Infosys Center for Artificial Intelligence thought of coming up with this unique theme, which I believe is at the inflection point where looks like artificial intelligence is at a stage where it can partially imitate human creativity, and we believe that it is going to transform the creative domains in a dramatic fashion in decades, if not years to come. Some people think even months to come. So let's see how it is going to progress, and I'll take you through the premise of this symposium. Am I audible again? So once again, a warm welcome to the Symposium on Computational Creativity. Welcome to IIIT-Delhi and CAI once again. We at IIIT-Delhi specialize in computer science and its applications with a variety of domains starting from biology to design to social sciences, apart from the core area that we are working on. So having said that, let me get started with the premise wherein I'll be telling you about how we can possibly chart the AI-driven future of creativity. And while doing so, I would like to take you through a spectrum of creative endeavors that we engage in as Homo sapiens, which is that of painting, creative writing, which means poetry, prose as well, music, and all the way up to sensory creativity, that of making perfumes and maybe even cooking. And that brings us to the basic question about what is creativity and what is AI. Without spending doing philosophical discussions about what is creativity, I presume there is an accepted understanding that anything that human intuitively create new, possibly by combining existing elements, can be called as creativity. Whether it is putting together ingredients which are existing in a manner which is rather unique to create a dish out of it, or could it be by putting together the brush strokes to create a painting which is rather unique and characteristic of an artist. That could be that. Or it could be a musician who is trying to put together notes which are obviously known to all of us to come up with a unique piece of music that not everyone can do, but creative individuals can definitely do. So all of these are creative expressions of humans, and that is what artificial intelligence, which is a computational approach of trying to imitate, trying to put together a structure behind what is otherwise considered to be a creative endeavor. Having said that, one might wonder whether all of these frontiers of human creativity can be at all achieved. I believe that something that we have already seen, such as playing chess, all of us would obviously revere Kasparov or Vishwanathan Anand to being one of the most creative individuals in the way they come up with the moves, which are so unique, so special that they are what they are, the grandmasters and world champions in chess. But this is about abstract thinking and thinking about all possible moves that one can make, and thereby coming up with a strategy with which they can win. So that is how Vishwanathan Anand or Kasparov have been winning these games. But at the same time, I presume that that's relatively simple, which is what we would think, given the fact that if these computations can be done using a powerful enough computer, then probably it can be taken over. That's what we would think. But there are other domains, such as poetry. Can you think possibly that you can write a better poetry than some of the best poets that you can think about? Talking about English literature, maybe Shakespeare or others. Can a computer come up with a poem or a lyrics, which is what is being used for today's competition also, which is as good, if not better, than a human creator? Or painting, or music, or coming up with a dish? Can it be possibly done? These are different possible endeavors, and you can see that we are running across different sensory mechanisms, if you wish, starting with abstract thinking to visual and again abstract thinking, but via visual processes, poetry, reading and writing, music, which is auditory capabilities, and other senses kicking in, such as olfactory and gustatory, the odor and the taste part of it. All of them kick in, and then of course you have multi-sensory creative activities like creating a video, a movie out of it, for example, right? Which involves many things together. So all of these faculties can possibly be taken over can be rather learning from these activities, and can we come up with data-driven approaches is the question that we should be asking. Having said that, I would like to raise this question, which is rather controversial, therefore comes with a disclaimer. Can a computer play like Kasparov? And having said that, on a second thought, I would say that nothing, it's no more controversial. Having seen how Deep Blue, way back in 1997, ended up beating Kasparov. And of course, people were watching carefully about what is going to happen, what's going to happen out of this Deep Blue versus Kasparov competition. Many of you are young enough not to know how it happened, but some of us were definitely there and witnessed this event as it happened. And there were frustration, awe moments, wow moments, and at the same time, a wonder about what is there in the future laid out for us. Chess was one game, and the second game, strategic game, was Go, which was thought to be much more challenging, given the fact that it goes much beyond, number of combinations are far, far more in terms of orders of magnitude. And then again, can a computer beat the best of the humans? And turned out that, yes, the best individual that at that time, South Korean competitor was beaten by the Google Go. AlphaGo, I believe that is called, the algorithm. Well, again, as I said earlier, this is about abstract thinking, looking at what possible combinations are there, thinking through them, and using a strategy, maybe a mathematical strategy, to optimize and find the best move to make. Looks like mechanical, but rest of them are not as mechanical, because now we are asking definitely a controversial question. Can a computer write like Shakespeare or any other poet that you would like to fit in here? And why only English poet? Think about those from any language across the globe, including Indian languages. Can it possibly happen? Can somebody write an algorithm which can beat the lyrics of Gulzar or Javed Akhtar? Think about that. Well, turns out that a challenging task at the same time. But what we have learned over a period of time is this, which is what was alluded by the earlier speakers also, that a couple of things that have happened. A, humongous collection of structured data around these creative endeavors. And B, computational strategies and power, the GPUs, think of it, which can be used for analyzing them and coming up with strategies, algorithms, with which we'll be able to create things out of them. And in this symposium, you will end up seeing some interesting creations, although very, very primitive compared to what is out there in the market. However, we have tried doing it in IIIT-Delhi, coming up with some interesting ways of creating poetry as well. This was one of the earliest books that I came across way back in 1996, which is Virtual Muse, Experiments in Computer Poetry by Hartman. And I realized that very early attempts were done trying to capture the pattern, the rhymes in the poetry, and trying to come up with ways by which you can actually generate it. And if you read through this book, which I ended up doing, I realized that the author is left with a sense of frustration that, look, it's not working. It's not really happening the way it should happen. But now, we know that GPT algorithms, ChatGPT, which is a wrapper around it, can actually do it amazingly well, and which is what is being used for the music competition today. So now that looks very cool, you see. And here is an example of examples of various experiments that have been done. Poster is out there, and one of our BTech students is presenting this poster, Dia, telling us about different historical research articles that have been done in the recent past, of course, trying to imitate different types of poetry from Chinese to Arabic to Shakespeare's poems, sonnets. And of course, there is this another work that has been done by a BTech student as a project, wherein this lyrics, if you were to read it, it would rhyme well, read well, and you might as well think it is actually created by Rihanna because her style is embedded in it. However, this poster which is presented outside, you will see that it has compared across various artists and has tried to come up with a strategy by which generate poetry, lyrics, and try to evaluate them computationally. But at the end of the day, it has to be evaluated by an intelligent human being who understands poetry. Taking it to the next level, the visual art, we are talking about paintings. Can computer paint like Picasso? And in that, here is a primitive attempt, again, trying to create anime. So a couple of BTech students again are presenting about earliest, and I will ask you to guess which one is real anime created by human artists versus which is generated by a computer, right? And it is very primitive, so it might be easy to guess out about which one is real and which one is fake, so-called computer generated. And of course, we are moving into other efforts of trying to create paintings which have an emotional content of something which is likable or not likable, the good and bad. Again, the work of that is already presented outside as a poster. Having said that, we have fantastic algorithms sitting out there, DALI, which incidentally inspired this painting to be created using DALI, which ended up winning a competition. And turned out that obviously artists didn't like, including the fact that who takes the credit for it and where are the copyrights of these things. So there are very interesting questions that we are talking around this, both legal and ethical questions about who owns it and how is that original art which is being fed into the algorithm is getting into this finally generated art. So those questions probably we won't be discussing in this version of the symposium, but more so will be coming soon. Then comes music. Can a computer compose like Beethoven or Mozart? Can we have not A.R. Rahman, but AI Rahman? Is the question that we should be talking about. And here is an example of Beethoven's unfinished 10th symphony completed by artificial intelligence. And by looking at the painting, doesn't look like Beethoven is liking it. So, but it is already happening, and this is being played now. And then final frontier that I'll be talking about with my deep experience in it for the last 8 years, that can a computer think like a chef? And in that context, a lot of work which is portrayed out there, given the fact that it's expression of creativity via culinary processes, and it makes us very, very unique like other faculties, language, painting, music, even cooking. Our ability of cooking makes us so unique compared to our brothers and sisters, which are apes. And there is a lot of data, which is what I mentioned about cooking, which wasn't available. We have put together through this edifice of computational gastronomy, different aspects of food, including taste, traditional aspect of recipes, health, nutrition, and sustainability. And we are asking this question, creative question. A chef can, of course, is expected to generate a new recipe. Can a computer do that? And I don't know how many of you have seen this movie, Ratatouille. Inspired by that movie, we are asking this question, can a computer actually cook a recipe, generate a recipe rather? Cooking will come later. And we have created this algorithm which is able to generate recipes, which we are now taking it through a protocol called the Turing test for chef, such that humans can actually judge it, and those which are coming out of it successfully, the true positives and false positives that are going to come out of it, fake recipes, computer-generated recipes, which can fool a chef, an expert, into thinking that it's real, will be actually be cooked in my kitchen and hopefully by many chefs around us who will be telling us about how it is tasting, pun intended, after eating them out. And variety of posters presented there. One is Ratatouille. The second is the Turing test for chef, which is available only for selected audience, the chefs and experts for testing it out. Then we have this cuisine fusion, where we are coming up with a strategy. Given a recipe, Italian recipe, can you make it Indian? Given an Indian recipe, can you transform it into a Brazilian? Can you come up with a computational strategy, which otherwise the expert can do it, of course. We are trying to do that. And of course, perfumes, the other endeavor that we can engage into. That can you come up with perfumes which are selectively targeted for male, female, or a specific audience for that matter. Having learned from a large chunk of data of decades that we have collected over a period of time, another BTP project which is being presented out there. And of course, can you predict taste and come up with molecules which food industry can use it? Having said all these endeavors of human creativity, a quick state of the art which has been reiterated already by the speakers is this. Immense things are happening. I'm only singling out a particular company, OpenAI, and its products, but there are multiple of them, including open source versions, better versions, faster and quicker, coming at your doorstep. All of this is changing this domain dramatically, and I believe is going to help us chart out the future of creativity. That's my thought, and that's what I believe is going to happen very soon, and that is why the symposium, that is why we are here to debate about it. Is it going to take our job away? As a professor, is my job in risk? As a chef, is my job in risk? As a musician, composer, is my job at a risk? And I asked this query on LinkedIn. I got this for whether a chef will ever be replaced by AI, or will it be, or a chef using AI will be replacing a chef who is not using AI. Turns out that most of them actually believe that yes, somebody who is enabled with AI, rather than replacing actually, AI replacing a human, a creative human, probably an algorithm using a chef will be rather better than the one who is not using it. Looks like that is what is going to happen. Obviously, we'll be discussing a lot about it as we go along. So with that, I would like to conclude this initial pitch and leave the stage open for the next speaker, who will be telling us about his endeavors as a computer scientist, as a geek, as someone who prepares, who actually composes music, has learned music over a period of time, and how he has been using data, computational approaches, and AI. And of course, we'll be coming up with exciting talks on large language models later on, and a poet giving his angle about whether AI can at all intrude into the domain of, let's say, Urdu poetry for that matter, which is what Professor Shandar Ahmed does. And Professor Tanmay, who will be talking about the large language models. He's an expert in that. And later, of course, we'll have perfumes, which Professor Isanjit will be talking about. And finally, we'll have the AI Nath Sadhana demonstration for 1.5 to 2 hours with amazing music being played, which you will witness very soon. And with that, we'll be concluding. So that's an overview of what is going to happen today. So stay hooked and enjoy the whole session. And I would like to then introduce the next speaker formally, and we'll call him up stage in a few minutes. Thank you once again, and enjoy the day.